Okay, so again, welcome everyone. Uh, my name is Daniel Garcia. I'm the Manager of Program Administration here at the Creative School. We're really excited to have you. Thank you for joining our onboarding session on grant writing. So we have Stacy Bergquist with us. She's a grant support specialist at the Catalyst here at the Creative School, and she'll be giving the presentation. Just before we get started, I want to start by acknowledging the land. We are in Toronto. This is where the TMU is located. And we like to acknowledge the land before every event, again, just to as a way to do a little bit about recognizing where we are located. I'm going to read the land acknowledgement that we use at TMU. Toronto is in the District 1 Spoon territory. The District 1 Spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. And I will encourage you to just do a little research from about obviously Toronto, but also maybe where you live. Take a look about why it's important to acknowledge the land, and I'll add some links in the chat in a minute in case you want to explore a little more. All right, so with that and without further ado, I'm going to introduce now Stacy Bergquist. Stacy, the floor is all yours. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks so much, Daniel. Hi, everybody. Like Daniel said, I'm the grant support specialist for the Creative School. I support faculty and also graduate students with their main scholarship and funding opportunities. So I'm available to you kind of all year round if there are particular things you're looking for support with applications for grants or scholarships. Today I'll be talking about a couple of the major funding opportunities for doctoral and master's students. Just giving a kind of overview of what those are and letting you know what upcoming supports there are that are more tailored, to go into them in more detail. But we'll go over today kind of what those opportunities are, the basic eligibility, what you might want to be thinking about in terms of if you're going to be applying for them. And then we'll have, I'm sure, time for some questions and answers. So I'm going to share my screen. Just one sec. So although today we'll be talking about those main federal and a provincial funding opportunity, you are welcome to contact me if there are other applications you're looking at, for other funding opportunities that might come up through your program or through individual opportunities you might find that are relevant to your studies. So you can always get in touch with me about those. So that's me there, Stacey. I've got an office in the Catalyst. So if you're familiar with that, it's a space in the Rogers Communication Center. During term time, I'm usually there Tuesdays through Thursdays, and I usually have drop-in hours on Thursdays. So if you're around and you need to chat about something, you're always welcome to drop by or send me an email. I'll have my details at the end of the slide. And this will be available as well for you to refer back to. Today we'll be talking about the major federal funding opportunities that are available for graduate students, and I'll be referring to something called the Tri-Council. So if you're not familiar with that, it's the main federal funding body. It's composed of three kind of funding agencies: CIHR, which is for health research, NSERC, which is natural sciences and engineering, and SSHRC, which is social sciences and humanities. You might, if you've heard of the Tri-Council, you might be most familiar with SSHRC because that's usually what most people in the creative school, their research would be falling under, that kind of broad category of social sciences and humanities. So that's kind of what we'll be mostly talking about today, but just so you're aware, there are these other two branches. And when we talk about the Tri-Council, it's this broad federal funding agency. So the main sources of external grad funding There's the federal ones, which are the Canada Graduate Research Scholarship, and there's a doctoral branch and there's a master's branch. And if you're familiar with the doctoral funding, you might notice that this has changed a little bit. They've revamped these programs and they're the new programs this year. So I'll talk a little bit about what differences there are from last year in case you are familiar and are wondering what the changes are. And then there is the provincial Ontario Graduate Scholarship. And this is the main provincial source of funding for doctoral and master's students. And so I'll go over a little bit about what that looks like and the eligibility criteria. And then the graduate school also has a list of internal and external grants and scholarships. I believe there was already a session on this that kind of covered broad funding and kind of things within TMU. So you can always go to that website to have a look at kind of all the other opportunities that might be more specialized or more appropriate to your specific programs. So in terms of the federal grant programs, the main changes have been to the doctoral scholarship. Previously, there were kind of two branches of the SSHRC doctoral scholarship. And there was different ones for international or Canadian applications. So those have now been essentially rolled into one unified funding opportunity, the Canada Graduate Research Scholarship for doctoral students. International students enrolled at Canadian institutions are now eligible for this funding opportunity, and the Vanier Scholarship, which was the international student option, has been discontinued. So now there's this one nice holistic fund, which does kind of make things, I think, a little easier. So if you're new to the programs, all you need to know is that there's this one opportunity. And if you are coming in from, second or third year, just note that there is this difference in the update to the program. Some of the changes also are that students can apply into the third year of their doctoral program, and the award is for $40,000 a year for 36 months. You can apply a maximum of 3 times for this doctoral opportunity. And if you are a doctoral student and you also hold a tenured or tenure track position at a university or are on leave from one of those positions, you're not eligible for this. So it's geared primarily to doctoral students for whom this is their main kind of focus and would be their main funding source. So like I said, so it's $40,000 a year for 36 months. That's kind of the thing most people like to know. The eligibility is you can have completed no more than 36 months of full-time equivalent study in a doctoral program when you apply. So essentially you can apply until you started your third year of your program. 2 part-time terms of study equal 1 term of full-time study. So if you are a part-time student, you can apply using that kind of calculation. This timeline does apply to any doctoral study you've done. So if you had started some doctoral work somewhere else and have transferred or started a doctoral program again here, they are taking into account all the months you have done a doctoral study. So if you're just coming in fresh this year, or just starting into a second or third year at TMU, and that's been your only doctoral study, then that's a pretty straightforward calculation. One thing to note is that because I presume everybody here, if you're in a doctoral program, like you're already enrolled at TMU, it means you will be applying through TMU for this funding opportunity. So if you're on the SSHRC website and you're looking at their information, you'll see that they talk about candidates who are at a quota holding institution versus people who are applying directly to SSHRC. And you would only be applying directly to SSHRC if you are not already enrolled in a program, but we're looking ahead, say, to next year, like to 2026, when you might join a program. So because you're already at TMU, you apply through TMU. And that means your deadline for that is October 4th. So you'll see the date October 17th floating around, but that is for people who are not already enrolled in a doctoral program. So keep October 4th in your mind because that is your deadline here. And although you are applying through TMU as an institution, your application goes through the Tri-Council portal. There isn't another internal application within TMU. So it's just straight through the portal by October 4th. And you would choose the Tri-Council agency that's most appropriate for you. Most likely this will be SSHRC, as I said, the Social Science and Humanities. But if you do have any kind of uncertainty about which agency is most appropriate for you, you can always chat with me. You could reach out to a chair or potential supervisor in your program just to double check. But that is, I would say almost everybody applies through SSHRC in the creative school. So the application elements for the doctoral application, it's fairly straightforward. It's not a huge application, but there are things that you'll want to put effort into. So one of the primary kind of aspects of the application is a 2-page research proposal. And that'll be a narrative, 2 pages in which you lay out your proposed research that you'll be doing during your doctoral program. It'll outline kind of your method, your proposed timeline, kind of the significance and importance of your work, and some of your own location as well, kind of well placed to do this research to show your capability. Along with that is a maximum 5-page bibliography and citations page, and this is something that people often get confused about, but all this is asking for is citations for any literature that you refer to in your research proposal, and then additional bibliographic information for work that is relevant to your research. So sources that you might have consulted, things that show you're in touch with the literature around your topic. And then there's a 2-page research contributions, relevant experience and activities document. And so that is something else you'll put together. And that will list any types of publications, exhibitions, artistic work that you will have done, as well as a discussion of any kind of relevant experience related to the research that you're proposing in your research proposal. So this is a chance to show experience that you have that will help you to conduct your research. It's a chance to show things you've been involved in a research capacity, as well as any broader activities. So that can be it can be both academic or things you might have done with your community or other relevant communities that relate to the research that you want to do, maybe to show that you have connections or networks that will help you with that, or to help explain kind of the foundation of your research. So those are the 3 kind of parts of the application that you will have to put together yourself, kind of narrative, written aspects that you'll turn into a PDF to upload to the application portal. And then the other aspects are your transcripts. You'll need your official transcripts for all undergraduate and graduate studies that you've conducted up to this point. That includes a transcript for TMU for the fall term, even though it might not show very much by the time you're applying for that October 4th application. You do need to have that transcript. You need 2 reference letters. Those can be academic or they can be, community-based reference letters, but they should be able to speak to you specifically, the research you want to do. They should be from people who kind of know you and can write a nicely tailored letter. And then there's something called a web CV. So for the doctoral application, when you go into the portal, there's a section where you'll need to fill out a short CV section. that you need to complete before you can submit the final application. So that's kind of an outline of the key elements. I won't have time to get into all of those details, but if you are planning on applying for the doctoral scholarship, there's a few kind of options for more tailored support for this. So on August 6th, 1 to 2:30 p.m. There's a grant writing for grad student session offered through the TMU library. This is from a couple of SSHRC awardees at the doctoral level, offering some very tailored peer-to-peer support. So there's a link there. I believe they have a waiting list right now, but you can put yourself on the list for that registration. And then if you can't make that, or you want, another additional workshop, then on August 19th from 12 till 2, I'll be running a workshop on this as well. There's the registration form there. So when these slides are circulated, you can use that link to sign up. And I'll essentially go through all those application elements and give some specific guidance on what to put in those, and we can have a look at the portal and what the application process looks like. You're also welcome to book a one-on-one appointment with me at any time. I have calendar bookings there, and so you can just make a time. We can go over the application one-on-one. I'm also available to look at drafts and give you some feedback on those. So that's our kind of whistle-stop tour through the doctoral scholarship application. And then for master's students, the primary scholarship application is the Canada Research Scholarship master's level. So do make sure you're paying attention to whether you're on the master's page or the doctoral page if you're looking this up, because they do look quite similar, but they're obviously quite different in terms of their eligibility and application. So the master's scholarship is $27,000 for 12 months. The deadline for that is December 1st. I'll just highlight now, it's 8 p.m., not midnight. And similar to the doctoral program, it's administered by the Tri-Council as a whole, but you select the agency relevant for you, which is likely to be, again, SSHRC. And again, this is administered by TMU, but you apply through the SSHRC portal. The eligibility here for the master's is Canadian citizen, permanent resident, or protected person. You could have completed up to 12 months of study by the time of your application. So you do need to be in a 2-year master's program, because the funding will only apply the year, it will apply the year following your application. So you would be in your first year and applying to receive this in your second year. Unlike the doctoral program, you do need to have a first-class average in the last 2 years of study. So there is a certain eligibility element there based on your previous academic performance. And you can't have previously been awarded a CGRS-M or a CGRS-M. So you can only hold it once. The application elements are kind of similar as the doctoral ones, but a little shorter. So there's a 1-page research proposal. And again, this is where you'll kind of lay out what you're proposing to study as your major research project while in your master's program. And then a maximum 1 page of that bibliography and citations of relevant work and citing any literature that's come up in your research proposal. But similarly, you'll need your transcripts for undergraduate and graduate studies. You'll also need 2 references. Again, can be academic or non-academic, but they should be from people who have a fairly detailed knowledge of your research, or your general abilities and capabilities. And then for the master's, you need to actually complete something called the Canadian Commons CV. So separate from the doctoral program, which has the web CV. Confusingly, there is a different type of CV that's needed for the master's. and that goes through a whole separate portal. It's not a difficult thing to create, but it is a little tedious, to be honest. So that's something that if you are thinking about applying for the master's, it's something you might want to look into and maybe start doing, because you can create that at any time. In terms of additional support for the master's application, the Creative School will be running some workshop sessions throughout the fall, and that'll either be with me or one of the other support staff. So you can register your interest for that, and then a little closer to the time, we will be contacting people to look at dates and forming a bit of a schedule. So there'll be some ongoing forms of support over the fall to help master's students who are compiling that application. But similarly, you're also very welcome to make one-on-one appointments with me using the calendar booking or sending me an email and set up some time, and I can talk to you about any of the application elements and take you through those. But the fall registration workshops will cover things like the Canadian Commons CV and what that portal looks like and how to complete it, and then what the actual scholarship application looks like and what that portal is and how to put that through as well. So if you're thinking about applying for that, I'd really recommend that you look into registering or book an appointment with me, because if it's your first time filling out an application like this, there are some specific things that it's good to know. And then finally, there is the provincial level scholarship support. And so this is the Ontario Graduate Scholarship, or the OGS. This is $15,000 for a maximum of 3 terms, so 1 full academic year. Notably, you can't hold it concurrently with a tri-council grant, so you can receive one or the other. As with the master's level scholarship, you do need a first-class average in the last few years of study to be eligible for that. You do not need, if you're applying for the tri-council scholarship, you don't need to submit a whole additional application for the OGS. What you can do is, once you've submitted that tri-council application, you can request that that application be used for consideration of the OGS. So there's a short supplemental form that you fill out to indicate that you would like that consideration, and you discuss with your GPA getting that considered. So you typically, for most programs, the deadline to do that is early March. So you've got lots of time to submit either your doctoral application in October or your master's application in December, and then you can discuss with your program having that application be considered as well. So it's not an additional amount of work, but you then are considered for both. The results for the federal scholarships usually come out in April, and then OGS comes out in May. So you would know by then if you've received the federal scholarship, you can accept that. And if you weren't successful with that, there's still the other opportunity for the OGS that you might hear about. So that more or less is the kind of like brief overview of these main federal and provincial funding opportunities. That's my email there. And you're welcome to reach out anytime with specific questions. I'm also happy now to take any specific questions that have come up. I know that's kind of a lot to absorb all at once. But if you do have any questions right now, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Stacey. There is one question in the chat. I don't know if you want me to read it out loud, and then it's a little bit long, but I'll read it for you, and then you can answer if you want. So hi, Stacey. Can you confirm the specific years of the studies that SSHRC funds? Are they only funding through the 4th year of full-time study now? For example, if I apply in my 1st year, I can get funding for 3 years, 2nd to 4th year. Or if I apply in my second year, I can get funding for 2 years. So basically, I'd be in third and fourth year. And if I apply in my third year, I can get funding for the fourth year only. Or can I still get 3 years of funding if I apply in my second or third year?
Yeah, so that's a little different this year as well, because previously the doctoral scholarship, it kind of specified the amount of time you could have it for. And with the update, they've just given the blanket information that it is for 36 months. I haven't been able to find anywhere that it's limited by how many years of study you are through your program. I'm assuming that like if you were in your fourth year, well, no, sorry. Like if you start your fourth year with that funding, like if you're successful in your third year, you would only be able to keep receiving it as long as you're enrolled in your program, because that's the basic eligibility for it. So I know like some university programs are like up to 6, you're enrolled for up to 6 years. So then if you were in your third year and you continued to be enrolled until you're 6, you would be able to get it for the 36 months. I am trying to figure out if there's any more specifics around that, but they haven't released anything saying that there's a cap on it based on the years of study you've gone through. So that's what my working assumption right now.
Excellent. Thank you. Here's another one. Hi, Stacy. Do you need a transcript from the MDI program if you are a first-year student? I'm assuming it's a transcript for the application process.
Yeah, I do believe so, because by the time you submit your application October 4th, technically you'll have completed a month of study. I don't know, Daniel, if you have any clarification on that or not, if that's required.
It does depend on like how much you've completed. Like the first semester wouldn't have any grades on the transcript, so I'll just basically say you're enrolled, and they'll list the courses. It can be included. It probably won't make necessarily a difference because there's no grades per se, but I think it just shows that you're enrolled in the program. So there's a possibility to enroll in, and I think at that point you're able to download them as an unofficial transcript directly from my service hub anyway. So if you're submitting your application, I would say just include it just to show that you're currently part of the program, I would say.
Okay, yeah, thanks. That was my understanding as well. So yes, you would. And then if you're a PhD student, then definitely you will want to, because again, even though by December 1st, you won't necessarily have any grades in there, you do want to show that it's confirming how many months of study you've completed by the time you're applying.
Excellent, thank you. Here's another question from Nadia. For the Master's Scholarships, there is a requirement for first class average in the last 2 years of study. Could you please explain it more? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So first class average, it sometimes will differ by institution, but generally it works out to Daniel, maybe you can correct me here. Is it a B+ or an A-?
A-.
A-, yeah. So an A- average across the courses you conducted over the last 2 years. So if you're applying for the master's, they would be looking at your last 2 years of undergraduate study. And you would need to have an A- when all those course grades are added up. So that's that basic requirement.
Yeah. And just a note on that, it's usually the last 2 years, but it's individual years of study. So we'll calculate each year individually to make sure that there's the A- in each of those 2 years. Depending on, for master students, it's a little tricky sometimes, because sometimes depending on when you're applying, it might be your fourth year of undergrad plus your third year of undergrad if you have the grades there. Sometimes if students don't have grades in their fourth year, maybe they did a co-op or some sort of thing like that, we may have to go farther back a little bit. There's no grades available. So it's a little bit of a case-by-case basis that determines exactly which courses are included. But generally speaking, the rule is, the 2 last years of completed study. When we say completed study, it usually means there's not Like, for example, you might be applying for December, so you're technically halfway through your fall semester of your master's. Therefore, those master's grades won't be included because you haven't completed that year's study. So it's really just, it will be the year before that you've completed the last educational institution you've been, maybe an undergrad degree, maybe a previous master's degree or something like that. So there's a lot of little nuances like that in some of the calculations. Thank you. Here's another question from Aaron. Did I understand correctly that the CV goes through a different portal than the rest of the application, or did I misunderstood that? Also, on this transcript topic, do they accept electronic transcripts?
Yeah, so for the master's scholarship, the CV goes through a different portal. That's the Canadian Common CV, and that is a kind of fully different website and portal. And then what happens is you create the CV in that, and then it gets imported into your application. For the doctoral scholarship, it is the same, for the CV is in the same portal. What'll happen is you'll sign into your portal, and you'll see there's one section that says web CV, and you complete that, and it'll have a little green tick to show you that you completed that requirement. And then below that is your scholarship application. And only once both of those things are complete can you submit it. So for the doctoral program, it's through one portal. Through the master's, there are two. There's an application and a Canadian Common CV. Which again, I'm happy to help clarify when you're filling those out. And those will be things that will be discussed in the specific workshops on these as well. And then on the topic of transcripts, yes, mostly you can get official electronic transcripts, like TMU, for example, uses the MyCreds, I think that's what it's called, site to do that, and a lot of universities in Canada will do that too. And so you can get an official electronic transcript and then just upload that PDF. Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. Regarding the research contributions, relevant experience, and activities, if the experience is not directly relevant, what would you suggest submitting instead?
Well, I guess, I mean, research contributions can be kind of anything, whether they're directly related to the research you're proposing or not. I would suggest putting anything that you have done that as a contribution to research in that. So any types of like conferences you presented at, exhibitions you've been a part of, any like teams that you might have contributed to journal articles or other types of publications. They don't necessarily have to be peer-reviewed publications. So definitely for the research contribution section, I would say any type of formal research contribution that you've been part of, you definitely want to include that. Relevant experience and activities, I would say try to, I guess, think very broadly about what experience and activities you have or been involved in. So it might not feel like they're always necessarily directly relevant, but think about things you've done that you can draw out. It might even be like relevant skills that you would be applying, or work that you've done that kind of gives you some experience, even if it isn't specifically directly on the topic that you're proposing. Kind of think about how things you've done could make you kind of could give you some leg up in doing this work, and kind of try to draw that out and add it in. But if it comes down to it, if you have experience or activities that you really can't see the relevance of, I'd think about just identifying skills from it and putting them in anyway and trying to elaborate on that.
Excellent, thank you. Next one is from Katie. Thank you for this whole workshop. Is there a quota for how many SHRC nominations TMU holds for doctoral students every year. I just wanted to gauge a competition.
Yes, there is. I don't know, Daniel, if you know off the top of your head what those quotas are. I feel like it might be about 24 for TMU as a whole. Do you remember?
I don't have the specific numbers now, unfortunately, no. Because if I remember correctly, they do change a little bit depending on available funding by the Tri-Council. So it's almost like think of like a new number every year kind of thing, I guess. But I don't have the specific numbers. I think at the end of the day, I would encourage you not to worry about the competition so much, but maybe focus more on the quality of your application, just to make sure that you have a greater chance. But there is, yeah, I mean, there's a specific number that the university gets in terms of number of grants for both PhD and masters, but that's more determined based on funding availability by the Tri-Council agencies.
Yeah. I mean, the numbers are published online somewhere. I can, if you're really interested in knowing, feel free to send me an email and I can try to find a link to share it with you. But yeah, I think as Daniel says, don't try not to get too caught up in it, but and let it discourage you from applying.
Here's another question. If you have an arts background, you can definitely position yourself that way and include exhibition, artist, talks, and collaboration. Oh, sorry, it's more of a comment. Sorry. That was just a previous comment to the to response. Thank you, Alexa. I don't think I've missed any questions, but if I have, please raise your hand or send me another message. Hopefully, we answered all the questions so far. Let me see. And actually, while I'm looking through this, make sure I don't miss anybody. If can I ask you huge favor, whoever's here, just type in the chat which program you are applying from, or which coming from, I guess. It'd be good to know more or less who's around and which program you're in for, so that it gives an idea of if we need to have additional presentations, those kinds of things. So that'd be great if you can just type in which program in the chat. That'd be amazing. Thank you. Thank you, Dirk. That being said, I don't think I missed any questions. I think most of them in the chat are good. Just a note for everybody in the master side of things, we'll usually send you an email reminder, or we'll let your program director know about eligibility for SHRC, so then they can reach out to you and then you can start beginning your application in the fall. So I can keep in mind the deadlines that we discussed. So October for the PhD and December for the master students. And so Erin is asking, I recently learned that we will receive numeric feedback on the application. Can you say more about this?
I don't actually know a ton about the post award process. Daniel, do you know more about that at all?
No, actually, we at least from the program side, we don't get a lot of direct feedback in that sense. We basically get, as you mentioned, in sometime in May or so, we'll get the results, which is basically just an email from grad study saying this 2, 3, 5, whatever many people receive the award by program, and then we'll pass that information along. I don't know if there's something like that in the portal afterwards that the applicants can look at in terms of their results from SHRC, I guess. But specifically to the program, it doesn't come directly to us, unfortunately. It's a funny award because it's half managed by us, half managed by the Tri-Council, so we don't always get all the information directly at the program level anyway.
I'm just seeing Alexa has popped up in the chat saying that they can speak to the rating if we want. So yeah, if you're happy to do that, Alexa,
That'd be
that'd be
great.
great.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, guys. I'm not appropriate to be on camera, and I'm kind of cheating because I'm a ComCog student who has Shirk, and I do the peer-to-peer workshop at the collaboratory. So um, I told Stacy I'd be here checking out the information and stealing what I could. Just in terms of the rating, the way it worked for me is you receive an official letter um, offering you the scholarship if you receive it. And within that, there's a breakdown. The application is generally looked at 50% kind of relevance of research, importance, excitement, and 50% feasibility. And they do kind of grade you on that. And then within your group, they will show you where you've placed in your group. But that is not public information in any way, as far as I know. So it just gives you a sense. Oh, and I believe they give that actually to everyone. So even if you don't receive the scholarship offer, they will show you kind of where you fit. So maybe next year you can think about positioning yourself a bit differently.
Great. Thank you so
Ooh,
much,
thank
Alexa.
you.
It's helpful. Okay. Any other questions? Any other thing I'm missing here? Let's have some time. If not, we can end it here if everybody's good. Again, we look forward to obviously seeing you in the fall and getting your applications. We will be adding the recording of the session to our onboarding website, so you'll be able to watch it again there if you need to. Same with the slides will also be added in there with the links and everything that we discussed. But if I don't see any more questions going once, thank you, Maisa. Thank you, everyone. I think that's it. Stacy, thank you very much for the workshop, and thank you everyone for joining us. And we'll leave it there. Thank you, everyone. Have an amazing day, and stay followed. Stay. We'll put up the website in the chat for our next presentations, and hope to see you at the next session. Thank you, everyone.
Great. Okay, thanks, Daniel. Thanks, everybody.